Check, check, check. Oh, that reminds me. You're not getting them today. You're not. I don't have them printed yet. But I brought a sample one from last time, Paige. That's what you triggered my memory.
Where are the jobs?
Stop looking ahead.
No! Why are you? Oh, breakfast snack is. Wait, what are the giveaway? What's the giveaway game? What's the giveaway?
We're doing rubber bracelets and tattoos, and they're the people that make sure that everybody has them every day. We're not doing light up ones because, yeah, they look like this here.
Wait, so I'm really confused. We only have one job?
Yes, everybody has one
Oh, I
job.
thought we were getting two.
No, everybody has
Yeah, I
one.
thought we were getting
But you can also, like, we'll talk about this. There's also always room for helpers on every one of those jobs. And so, like, somebody who's maybe like just a bus loader, not just, but somebody who's like a bus loader on the very first day, that doesn't mean they don't have to do anything the rest of the trip. It just means they're not accountable to the rest of them, but we expect people to help. All right. Our last. Are we recording now?
I still have my trip journal.
Yeah, so that the few people that could not be here today can get the information.
Yeah, we can go check.
Have to meet with people one more time. Work smarter, not harder.
I need to check with the person Is the backpack the like?
The clear backpack. No, that's the clear bag.
Oh, so this is like
You can have. Well, I'll talk about it. You don't. We'll talk about it. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. I anticipate that we may be done before 2 o'clock, but we have reserved time until 2 o'clock, okay? So, but I want to make sure that today, as part of our meeting, that any questions that you might have, you have the opportunity to get answered. Hopefully, most of them will be answered as we go through the materials. So I'm going to ask that you save questions that you might have for the end of our time, because there's a good chance that we will answer those questions as we're going through all of the details for the trip. I want to, just to give you a heads up, sort of our goals for today's meeting. Here are the things that we're going to be covering. We're going to walk through the full itinerary for the trip for while we're gone. We are going to review the packing list and answer any of your burning questions that you have about packing, how to pack, what to pack, things like that. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're handling medications and health-related things while we're gone. We are going to review the group covenant that we worked on writing at our last meeting. We're going to talk about participant jobs for while we're gone. I'm going to give you some information about the trip journals that you'll be receiving, overview of forms and information, final payments, and then I've got a few miscellaneous details at the end that didn't fit into any of those categories. Okay, so that's kind of our roadmap for the day. That's what we're going to be. Doing. I also want to thank Ryan and Roland for helping to set up. We are recording this meeting today, so if at any point in the next 2 weeks you have questions and you're like, "Oh, I think Aaron covered that in the meeting," I will send out a link to the recording. Probably tomorrow or Tuesday so that people can refer back to the recording of this meeting as well for any of those details. Okay? Good deal. All right, so the first thing I want to do is have all of our trip leaders, so our adult leaders that are going on the trip, if you could all please stand up. I think we're all here today. All right, so these are our adults that will be traveling with us to New Orleans. So that would be myself and Sharon. If you could just raise your hand when Sharon and Ryan and Michelle and Connie and Roland and Pastor Julie. And I will say, I want to put all of our parents' minds at ease because I think all of us except for Roland isn't sure yet what he's getting into, but all of us except for Roland were on the discipleship tour trip a couple years ago, and if you want to hear stories about how this group was able to lead and adapt in the midst of any challenge that may have come their way, there is a reason why they're going with us to New Orleans, because they have certainly proven themselves. So I want to thank them as our adult leaders for going along with us. All right, so with that, we are going to walk through our full trip itinerary. So each student has a packet that has a copy of the itinerary. And I want to make sure that as we're doing this, so we're going to start out and we're just going to walk through day by day. So Sunday, July 14th, that is 2 weeks from today. That is the day we are leaving. That is also the day that we are being commissioned. So the important details for that morning, right, are our bus loaders will arrive at 7:45 a.m., okay? Everybody else, we're going to do arrival check-in, and we are going to load the bus at 8 a.m., okay? Our commissioning will happen at the 9 o'clock a.m. worship service at the Far Hills campus. This is all happening at the Far Hills campus. I know we've done everything for this trip here at Austin, but this is all happening at the Far Hills campus. So please don't show up here. Show up at 6430 Far Hills Avenue at 8 a.m. At check-in, you will receive your trip journal. You'll receive bag tags, which we'll talk about a little bit with the packing. If there's any forms that have not yet been turned in, you cannot get on the bus until every form has been turned in. So that will be the very, very last chance, but please turn them in before that so I'm not going crazy. Okay? We will have our commissioning service at 9 a.m. That service will be either outdoors or indoors, depending on the weather. So either in the outdoor chapel, or if it happens to be rainy that morning, we'll be in the indoor, in the sanctuary. And here's an important note. For all participants, anybody that's getting on the bus, so adult leaders, participants, anybody that will be riding on the bus after church, as soon as you take communion, when you finish taking communion, you're going to go take your bathroom break and then be back by the end of the service. Because at the end of the service, we are going to invite the congregation to walk out with us to the bus, and we don't want to have to wait on you going potty, right, to get on to get on the bus. So we're going to go straight out from worship out into the parking lot where we will circle up, we'll pray, and then we will get on the bus and hit the road. All right? Then we will be on the road. We will, on Sunday, we will do stops for lunch and dinner along the way on the road. We have an anticipated arrival time of 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please note that all of the times from here on out are all in Central Time. So once we get to Birmingham, we're in Central Time, so we'll be an hour behind you all here at home. So it will be great for us in the mornings because we'll feel like we're sleeping in a little bit, even though we some mornings have to get up early. Nights can be a little bit more of a challenge. So we will arrive at Shades Valley Lutheran Church in Birmingham. That is our host church for Sunday night and Monday night. We will be camping out on the floors there. We'll talk a little bit about how we're packing for that. We'll bring air mattresses and things like that. But for Sunday night and Monday night, we'll be sleeping. Shades Valley has a separate building that is sort of their like fellowship hall, youth stuff building that's separate from the rest of their church building. It's got its own kitchen. So we're going to have our own space while we're there. After we arrive and get settled, we'll do some group devotions. We'll have a little bit of evening programming, and then we will plan for lights out at 11:30 Central. So keeping in mind that will feel like 12:30 a.m. to those of us that have just traveled. So it's late. If we need to be in bed earlier than that, we'll be flexible and we'll get in bed earlier than that. But that's the plan. Monday morning, we will have breakfast at the church that we'll be providing breakfast that morning. Then we will head to some service sites in Birmingham. These are the sites that are, yes, I'm going to switch it to the next slide, absolutely. All right, we're going to do service projects at a location called Love Lady Center in Birmingham and the Cahaba River Society. These are being arranged for us by Service Learning Camps. So I have a contact, Kelsey, that I've been working with, and she has been setting up these service projects for us. We will have lunch in there at some point. Either we will be eating out or we'll be packing sandwiches. Adult leaders are still meeting yet today. Then after our service projects, we are going to do some civil rights sightseeing in Birmingham. I'm working on a shower location for us to go somewhere to a YMCA or a travel plaza or someplace where we will go and do showers after all of that. And then we are going to go back to Shades Valley Lutheran for dinner that night, which they are providing for us. So they're having a cookout for us. Alabama barbecue, and they're feeding us, and then we'll do some evening programming and group devotions and stuff. You'll start to see a little bit of evening patterning, right, throughout the course of the trip. We'll do our evening devotions and things like that, and then we'll do lights out. Tuesday, we will get up bright and early Tuesday morning. We'll eat our little continental breakfast. We'll load the bus. And we will head to New Orleans for the gathering. And so that is sort of an early morning, all hands on deck. We get the buses loaded. We get on the road as quickly as possible. We will have a stop for lunch at some point. And then we will arrive and check in at our hotel. We'll do gathering check-in. A couple of our adults will go over to the convention center to get us checked in for the gathering. We'll get settled in at the hotel. We will have dinner, and I will point out to you also that after the itinerary on here, you have a page called Meal Plans, and so that lists out the restaurants that we're planning to split up into. When it says we're splitting up into groups, there's sort of a set list of restaurants that will say, we're going to divide up into 4 groups and go to these 4 restaurants, and an adult will go to each of those restaurants, and so on. So we'll split up for dinner that night. In New Orleans, and then I am not going to go through the evening routine every night because it will be the same as Tuesday night. So at 7 p.m. is mass gathering. That is when we are in Smoothie King Center with 15,000 of our closest new friends. There will be speakers, bands, and worship and all of that. And then immediately following the mass gathering each night, there are nightlife options. And so the nightlife options are taking place there's 4 different hotels in the downtown area. I think there are 2 of them that are within reason for our walk from Smoothie King Center back to our hotel. So that information is still sort of rolling out not where those nightlife options will be, but what they will be. If we need to send, 2 adults back with some kids straight back to the hotel because they need to go to bed or whatever, we'll work through that. But we will always be traveling in groups and, going to those different nightlife options. Then we will have Final 15 and group devotions after that, and then lights out. All right? So that will be the evening sort of pattern each night of the gathering. Wednesday is our accompaniment day, and so Wednesday morning we'll wake up. That will probably be our earliest wake-up morning. We will find out our launch time on Tuesday when we arrive. So our service companion will send a text message to me and say, hey, we're meeting it will be between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m., and we'll meet at the convention center, which is like 3 blocks from our hotel. And so we'll tell the kids that night, like, hey, you need to be in the lobby at, 7:15 or whatever for us to walk over for that. We'll have a launch time. We'll have a service project that is planned for us by the gathering. Immediately after that, we will have lunch, and then on Wednesday, we'll have some downtime at the hotel in the afternoon, where there will be sort of some free time options if you want to go swimming that day, if you need to take a nap, because we're in the middle of the week then at that point. But whatever that is, we will have some downtime, and then we have dinner reservations that night at Johnny Sanchez, which is on the walk between our hotel and Smoothie King Center. It is a great Mexican place, Mexican, but it's a fancy chef from the Food Network, and Johnny Sanchez. And so we will have we have a set group menu there, and the plan is for them to have food ready when we walk in, for us to sit down and eat, and then be able to get over to the mass gathering and all of that. Then the same evening pattern as on Tuesday. And then Thursday, if you flip over to the next page, Thursday morning, we'll have breakfast. Thursday morning is going to be sort of a little bit more low-key. We'll kind of read the group as we're figuring out what time we want to get everybody moving. If people have been dragging already at that point, we may let them sleep in a little bit more, things like that. But we'll kind of play that by ear. Thursday morning, basically until noon, we don't have set plans. There is a goose chase scavenger hunt that the gathering has put together that we will do that morning. That gives us an opportunity to explore the city of New Orleans, and we'll probably split into some smaller groups and travel around. There is an app for your phone called the Goose Chase app, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but there will be a link from your trip journals that you can download that app, and you basically go around, and it's like, take a picture in front of Cafe Du Monde, or go find lunch at, such and such, or go and find lunch somewhere in New Orleans. That one will be easy for us because we have lunch reservations that day. But then they're keeping score, and I think it's synods against synods, scoring points, and then they'll announce at the end of the gathering who won the Goose Chase scavenger hunt. It's very cool. I had the opportunity to participate in one of those scavenger hunts when I was there in January. We are having a jazz brunch that day on Thursday at the Court of Two Sisters in the French Quarter. Really super cool experience, live local jazz music. That is an all-you-can-eat meal, and so we're going to invite our students to not eat so much that they can't function the rest of the day, but take advantage of the all-you-can-eat buffet while we're at Court of Two Sisters. Then at 2 o'clock that day is our regional worship with Southern Ohio Synod. We will be in a ballroom in one of the hotel properties. We will be worshiping with all of Region 6. So that is all the synods in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky. And we will all be worshiping together that day. That worship service is 45 minutes long. That is what they have promised. 45 minutes long. We'll have some opportunity to connect with some of our Southern Ohio Synod pals and things like that after the worship service, and then the plan would be to go get beignets after our Synod Day worship that day. There will also likely be some downtime at the hotel that afternoon before dinner and mass gathering and so on. That's another day that we'll be splitting up into, I believe that day we're going to likely be ordering pizza for dinner. Now that I think about it, it's not written on here, but that is the plan. Then Friday is our interactive learning day, and we're going to also be doing some more exploration of the city of New Orleans. So we will get up in the morning. The Interactive Learning Center opens at the Convention Center at 10 a.m., and so we'll be in there for several hours. There's opportunities to explore with lots of the ELCA ministry partners and mission partners that will have booths and different interactive activities for everybody to participate in. After that, we are going to do lunch, and we are going to actually probably divide into some smaller groups, and we're going to ride the trolley down to the Garden District of New Orleans, kind of get out of the fray for a little while, and we're going to spend the afternoon exploring out in the Garden District, and we will have dinner either out in the Garden District or back at the other options closer to our hotel when we come back for evening mass gathering, nightlife, Final 15, and all of those things. Then Saturday, just kidding, I don't need to change slides yet. On Saturday is going to be it's going to be a flexibility morning. We are going to most likely before closing worship happens at 9 a.m. 9:30 a.m. is when closing worship happens. Our bus driver cannot be on duty until after that in order to get us back to Franklin. So we're going to work on, we'll have a place to store all of our luggage probably in one of the adult leaders' rooms. We'll just move all the luggage in there, and then after closing worship, we'll walk back to the hotel, we'll load the bus, and then we'll grab lunch, be on our way back. That is primarily after closing worship. That is travel day for us, so we'll be traveling back. We are staying that night at First Presbyterian Church in Franklin, Tennessee. That is the same church that we stayed at on the front end of our discipleship tour trip in 2022. So for many students, it will feel a little bit like a homecoming to come back to a place where we have stayed before. The cool thing is this time while we're there, we are also going to have the opportunity to worship with them on Sunday morning, which we did not do in 2022. And they were such amazing hosts to us in 2022. So we will be spending the night at First Presbyterian Church. We'll do some group devotions. We'll be doing some trip debriefing that night, probably with our family groups, our prayer partners, and that sort of thing. And then we will do lights out. Sunday morning, we'll do breakfast. We'll pack up our stuff and move it to an identified location in the church. There's youth Sunday school that we're going to probably pack them out. But we're going to get the opportunity to hang out with some of the youth at First Presbyterian Church. Hopefully it's not in a teeny tiny little Sunday school room. But we are going to join in with youth Sunday school. We're going to join in with worship. And then they are having a potluck after worship that day. And so they're going to provide our lunch before we hit the road. Then we will, as soon as we're done eating lunch, we'll load the bus and we'll hit the road back here. We will plan to have a stop on our way back. And so our tentative return time for homecoming is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. That is the trip, itinerary-wise. If you look on that next page, it's got our meal plans, and so you can see where our lunch options are. One of the things that you'll notice is that there are a few times where it's the same group of restaurants listed. So that way, if you pick one, you don't feel like you missed out on one of the other ones. You'll have another opportunity. If you really want to go to Mother's, or if you really want to go to Mulates, or wherever, or if there's one day where you're like, man, I really just need some Raising Cane's, and so I'm going to go to the Riverwalk food court, but I really still want to experience New Orleans. So you'll have the opportunity to do both of those things. All right, so with that, one last note, with that return time, we will have students text when we're an hour away. So that is the best estimate that I can give based on what the bus company said, adding in a stop, assuming we get on the road at exactly 12:15, all of those things. And so we'll make sure that parents or whoever's doing pickup will have an ETA for when we're going to arrive back. All right, so how do we pack for a trip like this? If you look in your packet, there is a full packing list, okay, that gives you all of the details. So here is how we are going to pack, because here's the thing. We've got 4 nights where we're in hotels. We've got 3 nights where we are sleeping on floors in churches, okay? And so we pack differently because of that. So it is very important that everybody sort of follow this 3-bag model for how we're going to pack. So one of your bags will be a sort of backpack for travel, this does not have to be your clear bag. Okay, your clear bag needs to fit in one of your 3 bags, either your carry-on suitcase or in your backpack, but you don't have to pack your stuff for like 8-hour bus rides in your little clear bag. Okay, so some sort of bag that will be your carry-on for the bus. So this is where you're gonna wanna pack your trip journal when you receive it. You're gonna wanna have snacks for travel. I'm not gonna read this whole list for you because you have a very detailed packing list here. But I do want to point out that you want to have like your water bottle in there. One of the things that is going to be very important to have also is a reusable or a rechargeable battery pack for charging your cell phone. Hopefully that's something that you already have at some point. If not, you can get them at Sam's Club, you can get them at Target, you can get them at Walmart. But we're going to have long days, and we're going to need to be able to communicate with each other. And so if we get to 8:30 at night and your phone is dead, that is a problem, okay? So everybody needs to have a reusable battery charger for their cell phone. Be carrying a charge cable with that reusable battery pack. That is something that you will need to pack in your clear bag when we're at the gathering. Also, I would encourage you, the other thing that's on here, and I think this is in your suitcase, is to pack a power strip for sharing outlets. So like when you're staying at a church, I mean, we know what First Presbyterian Franklin is. I don't know what the outlet situation is like at Shades Valley Lutheran Church, but we've got 37 cell phones to charge each night. And if there's, 20 outlets, we need to be able to share outlets. So if you can, and you can either pack your own or you can make sure that at least one person in your hotel room is packing a power strip, so that when you're sharing outlets, you're going to have to share outlets probably in your hotel room and things like that also, but just a super handy thing to have. So your backpack will have all of your travel stuff that you need during the day when we're traveling, things like that. Then everybody will have a bedding bag. These bedding bags only come off the bus in Birmingham and in Franklin, Tennessee. All right, so this is a preferably twin-size air mattress. If you only have a queen-size air mattress, we can make it work, but preferably twin-size because space is at a premium. You will want to have an air pump for your air mattress. If it is, if it's one that plugs into the wall, make sure you have the plug. If it's one that's battery operated, make sure you have extra batteries because they will probably die. That's just how it goes. So air mattress, pump, or a way to inflate it that is not you just blowing into it. Okay, that's important. Also in there, you'll want to have sheets and a blanket or a sleeping bag, whatever it is that you need to like just have a bed to lay down on at night. You can also include your pillow in here, but if you want your pillow on the bus, or if you want your pillow in the hotel with you, like I have a special pillow that my old body needs, and so I will have my pillow on the bus, and then I'll take my pillow in when we're in the hotel as well. But your bedding bag is stuff that is only for those 2 nights at the church. When I was talking about doing bag tags, we will tag bedding bags with one color. So all the bedding bags will be tagged, I think, green, right? So when we unload the bus in Birmingham, all those green tagged bags come off. When we unload the bus in New Orleans, those green tag bags are staying on the bus. Okay? Any questions about that? Yeah. Yes, you're allowed to bring blankets with you, yeah. Oh, onto the bus? Sure. Yes, you can absolutely bring a blanket with you onto the bus as well. All right, and then your third bag for packing is your carry-on size suitcase or duffel. We have 37 of us traveling on a 48-passenger bus, and space will be at a premium. In addition to all of our suitcases, bedding bags, and suitcases, we have to have all of our food, our supplies, things that we bring with us. So I'm asking that you please keep it as a carry-on size suitcase. You should be able to fit everything that you need in there. In that bag will be your group t-shirts. We have assigned shirts for every day of the trip, okay? When you arrive for commissioning, Kaylee, will you stand up? When you arrive for commissioning on the 14th, the purple HSM shirt is the shirt that we are wearing that day. All the rest of these shirts should be in your bag. I'm going to give you a little hint. I got the shirts ready this week. My shirts are already in my suitcase. I am going to ask that when you get your shirts today, that you don't wear those shirts between now and the gathering. If you want to run them through the washer or whatever, that's fine. They have not been pre-washed by me. But if you're a person that needs to wash your shirts before you wear them, you can do that. But I'm going to ask that those shirts just go like that bag to your suitcase. Okay? I know they're cool and you're so excited to wear them, but we cannot lose them between now and 2 weeks from now. I have 0 extras of those shirts. All right? There are 0 extras. I think there are 2 small purple HSM shirts. I have 0 extras, okay? So the shirts that you will be receiving today are a red high school ministry shirt. There's a purple HSM shirt in there if you said that you did not have one already. So there were a limited number of bags that if you were one of the people that told me, I don't have a purple HSM shirt, your purple HSM shirt is in that bag, that one, please wear on Sunday the 14th, right? You are also receiving 2 gray Thrivent shirts, a teal gathering shirt, a dusty peach gathering shirt, and a gray Southern Ohio Synod shirt. In addition to those shirts, we will receive our orange shirts from the gathering when we arrive in New Orleans. So we will distribute those Tuesday night to wear on Wednesday morning. So you'll be receiving those when we get to New Orleans. I would encourage you to pack a couple of extra t-shirts. We're going to be wearing the group shirts the whole time. But like, for example, when we're in Birmingham and we're doing service projects during the day wearing our gray Thrivent shirts, some of you may want to change into something else. You know, if you got sweaty, whatever. After you take a shower, you're going to want to change into something else. There's not an extra shirt to wear that day. So pack a couple of extra t-shirts, maybe 2 to 3 in case you need to change after a service project. You're going to want to pack shorts or pants. Please note, it is going to be hot in New Orleans. Okay? The gathering does recommend on our service day that you wear longer shorts. Okay? So something longer, or if you want to wear leggings that day, like crop leggings or something like that for our service project, that is what the gathering requests for that. But you're going to want shorts or pants to wear during the week. Comfortable bottoms for travel days, comfortable walking shoes. Here's my suggestion on walking shoes. Anytime we go anywhere, we're going to wear closed-toed shoes. Please don't wear flip-flops outside of the hotel or outside of the churches where we'll be staying. You can bring flip-flops if you want them for, say, showering, or if you want them for walking to the pool at the hotel. But we will not leave the hotel in anything but closed-toed shoes. Also, you are going to be walking an insane amount in New Orleans. If you have 2 pairs of comfortable walking shoes, I would encourage you to bring 2 pairs so that you can rotate and not wear the same shoes every day, because then you'll get blisters from wearing the same shoes every day. Okay? So comfortable walking shoes that should be closed-toed and closed-heel. So those are listed on there as 2 separate things. They can be the same, right? 2 pairs of comfortable walking shoes. Please pack a pair of work gloves, pajamas, bathing suit, beach towel, flip-flops or slides for the pool, a warm shirt or light jacket for possibly for indoor environments where it may be chilly, or maybe the air conditioning at Shades Valley Lutheran Church is colder than Austin campus on a Sunday morning. So have something long sleeve that you could throw on. Rain gear, I would strongly recommend some sort of compact poncho that would fit in your clear bag, because in New Orleans in July, it's going to rain at some point. All right? It's probably not going to rain all day, but it's going to rain hard at some point. So if you have some sort of poncho, like it could be a black trash bag for all I care, but something that will keep you dry in a sudden downpour. All right? You'll want to have with you. You'll want to bring whatever toiletries you need. Please bring like body wash, and please bring deodorant. Okay? Those are important. Cards or other free time activities, a hat, sunscreen, bug spray, a power strip, we already talked about that, and then your clear bag for use in gathering venues. Who has their clear bag with them today? Do you have it with you where you can hold it up? Just hold it up in the air. All right. If you ordered a clear bag from Old Lutheran and it's not here yet, their bags meet the requirements, so I'm not worried. All right? Great. We got clear bags. Okay. So when we are in New Orleans and we're going into the convention center or into the mass gatherings in the evenings, you may only carry what can fit in your clear bag. Okay? That makes sense? So please make sure you pack that so that if you want to, let's say, have a snack with you on Service Learning Day, you have something that you can carry that in. Or if you want to have a snack with you any other time during the week for carrying your wallet and things like that. If you have questions about the clear bag policy and what kinds of things can go in there, there is great information on the Gatherings website. It's elca.church or .org/gathering. And there is a plentiful information on there. You are allowed to have like a wallet size, small, closed, non-clear bag, so like you don't have to carry cash open in your clear bag. Or if you have a pouch that carries medications or things like that. I know we had questions about, for medical reasons, we have one that has to carry cooler, and you're all good. It'll just be a separate security line that we have to go through for that. Are there any questions about any of that I might be able to answer? Yeah. Yes, you may carry a small pouch with ibuprofen or Tylenol, particularly if your parents signed off on you carrying that for yourself, which is on one of the forms Please note also that our adults will each have like a small first aid kit. We're not going to carry the red duffel bag into the convention center, right? But we will have, Band-Aids on hand and Neosporin and some ibuprofen and things like that the adult leaders will have on hand. All right, and then also, if things to turn in at check-in, all right, if you look down there in the first column, if you are bringing like prescription medications that you are not self-medicating with, okay, so this is something that we have available this year. So like we have some people that are taking prescriptions every day. They're used to taking them every day on their own, and if your parents have signed off that you're taking them, you may hold on to those. But if an adult leader from the trip is dispensing your medication for you each day, those need to be turned in at sign-in, okay? Also, if by that point you have not turned in your group covenant or any of the paperwork, that will need to be turned in at check-in. Again, you don't get on the bus until all that stuff is turned in, okay? And then please wear your purple shirt for departure, purple HSM shirts, okay? Are there any questions about what to bring? Yes. Our adult leaders will absolutely be checking in, even if your student is taking their own meds. That's part of why we wanted to collect those forms today, so that our adult leaders that are in charge of meds can familiarize themselves with who's taking meds ahead of the trip, so that we can be ready and know that, okay, we need to check in with Susie, at bedtime, or we need to check in with Johnny at, after breakfast and make sure they've taken their meds. And that will provide our transition into, important things to remember. I think we touched on all of those things. Spending money. Let's talk about spending money. All right, so what is included in your, in what you have paid for the trip and fundraised is, we have a budget for meals every day, right? Your son or daughter will be fed. You will eat. We will have snacks available. We will have all of those things. If you want to buy a souvenir, or if there is a group that is walking down to PJ's Coffee in the morning for coffee together, that is not included. I don't have coffee money for you, okay? I don't have souvenir money for you. So I would encourage you to, or if you're just a person that like will get hungry at non-meal times and our snacks aren't going to be substantial enough for you, you may want to pack a little bit of extra cash or a credit or debit card for that kind of thing. Please keep in mind that, like, for example, when we're in the convention center, there will be concessions available. That may not be our lunch plan for the day, but if you decide you want to get concessions, that's up to you. The convention center and Smoothie King Center are all cashless. So the only option for purchasing things in there is with credit or debit card. So I would recommend that you send some spending money, but again, that's at your discretion, whatever you feel comfortable with as parents and as students for sending with your son or daughter. Yeah. That I do not know, but they probably do. I would guess that they probably do. It would probably be pretty easy to find that on either their website or the Gatherings website. All right. So health information, again, we've kind of covered this at this point, but students may self-medicate if a parent has signed off or an adult can administer your prescription medications. Whatever you're most comfortable with. Cashless concessions and merchandise, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and Android Pay, along with contactless EMV are acceptable forms of payment inside Smoothie King Center, which is probably also the case for the convention center. All right. Anytime medication is taken, we want the student to let an adult leader know. Connie and Michelle are going to be sort of tag teaming our food and med stuff, and so they will be the point of contact for that. But like, for example, like, your parents can sign off on that form that, like, let's say you're allowed to take ibuprofen if you have a headache. You still need to let an adult leader know that you are taking ibuprofen for a headache, okay? Because we will keep track of that. That way, if for any reason there was any sort of emergency, we can tell a squad or EMTs or the doctor or the hospital or whatever, this is, these are the medications they've taken in the last 24 hours, and this is what time they took them. So anytime you're taking any sort of medication, you must report it to Connie or Michelle. Michelle says, please text it. Then it's in writing. It's got a timestamp. Okay? Does that make sense? And this is true, again, for both prescription and over-the-counter medications. Any medication you put into your body, you let an adult leader know. It has to be one of the ones that was pre-approved by your parent as well, please. And thank you. All right, group covenant, moving right along. So we worked on this group covenant. It's a separate handout. We worked on this group covenant at our last meeting, so this was all put together by input from our students that are going on the trip. This I am going to review in a little bit more detail because it's very important to the success of our trip, okay? So there are sort of four categories on here of expectations that we have. So we have expectations for how we will treat one another as a group. We have expectations for how we will help one another as members of this group that are traveling together. We have expectations of our adult leaders, and so these were things that, like, our students said, here's what I need from my grown-ups while I'm gone, and then how we will address any breaches of the covenant. So I'm going to kind of walk through this. I'm going to try not to read it word for word, but I want to make sure that we're all hearing everything that's in here, because this can make or break a trip, all right? So we will treat one another in the following manners. We will be open to new people, things, and experiences, and be open to the new relationships that we may form along the way. We will treat one another with respect and forgiveness, and these will be our mantra. We will not gossip, no inside jokes, no insults. We will refrain from any joking or language that promotes sexism, racism, prejudice, teasing, etc. We'll be respectful of people's privacy, feelings, and property, including, and this is important, I want you to hear this, including asking permission before posting pictures of others. We will treat everyone we encounter inside and outside of our group with the utmost level of respect, and we'll use language and behavior that reflects that we are a people of Christ. We covenant that we will be present with one another. One of the conversations that we had, at least in our family group, was about how to sort of technology, how we use technology. We're obviously going to be using cell phones while we're gone. That will be the primary way that we're in communication. You'll have a group text with your family group. That will be the ways that we'll probably send you reminders at night of like, hey, don't forget that you need to wear your orange shirt tomorrow, and things like that. But I don't ever want that technology to be used in a way that is isolating us from the rest of the group and is keeping us from being present in the moment. Some of the, I think that's talked about in the next line when we talk about technology also, is that we will not use cell phones during the following times: during meals, mass gatherings, prayer partners, family times, and group devotions. Those are times that we will be phone free because we really want to be present in that moment. The exception to that would be if I say, okay, open up the Bible app and we're going to look at such and such a verse. Then I would expect that students, are getting out their phones to do that, to follow along with the scripture that we're reading. But please be present with one another. This trip is 8 days, and you don't get these 8 days back. This is the only time this group of 37 people will be together. All right, so make the most of every moment that you can. I also acknowledge that there are times when people, like I'm an introvert, and there are times when us introverts do need a break. And so there are times that are appropriate for like having headphones on. Like if you're on the bus and you're like, I just need a little bit of my own music and pretend I have my own space around me, that is okay. Don't do it for the whole 8-hour bus ride, right? But take breaks when you need to take breaks. Roommates, we will respect one another's privacy and need for sleep. We will keep our rooms neat and our belongings tidy. We will be courteous of others' needs and share space and openly discuss bathroom schedules with our roommates. I'm talking about shower schedules. I mean, I'm not talking about, other bathroom schedules, but, be open about your communication about, like, are you a nighttime shower or a morning shower? How do we need to split our time? Things like that. Flexibility. This is an important one, right? We will always be flexible, and we recognize that sometimes plans need to change on the fly. And this group, repeatedly, Epiphany's youth ministry has demonstrated the ability to be flexible. And so we'll just continue that tradition, right, of being flexible. Bus behavior. We will respect our fellow travelers by not throwing things on the bus, by using headphones when we're watching our own videos or listening to our own music, and by being neat and tidy with our belongings. And then hotel behavior. We will be respectful of other guests staying in our hotel by walking quietly through the hallways, observing lights out and curfew times set by our adult leaders and the city of New Orleans, and treating all people with respect. Here's an important thing. I don't know who they are, but there will be people staying in our hotel that are not with the ELCA youth gathering. And you know what? They decided to travel to New Orleans in July, and that's okay. We want to allow them to have as pleasant of an experience as possible. And so we will be respectful of our use of the hotel property in order to allow that as well. They will probably arrive and be like, oh no, what have we gotten ourselves into? But hopefully at the end of their experience, they'll be like, wow, that group of ELCA Lutherans was really respectful and really amazing, and I would do it again if I needed to. All right, so we will also covenant to help one another in the following ways: by caring for each other and ourselves. We will wear sunscreen. We will drink water. We will drink more water and more water and more water. We will make sure that we're getting plenty of sleep. And we will take responsibility and initiative for caring for each other and doing our share of the work. We will take care of one another by listening. We will listen to our adult leaders, our fellow participants, and others who we encounter along the way, our service companion, mass gathering speakers, people who are presenting in the convention center, all of those things. We will communicate that we're listening by using eye contact, being free of distractions, and using open body postures. Groups of 3. This is important because there's like New Orleans laws about this as well. This is Aaron's group laws and Aaron's group rules, and also City of New Orleans. We will always travel in groups of at least 3, and an adult leader will know our whereabouts at all times. Once we are in New Orleans, we will not travel anywhere outside of our hotel or other properties where we are without an adult leader. All right? You are never, once we are in New Orleans, to be anywhere outside of the hotel property, or if we're in the convention center, anywhere outside of the convention center without an adult leader with you. Okay? Understood? Everybody good on that? Even if you are 18 years old. Personal hygiene. We'll take care of ourselves by showering daily as possible on travel days. And by wearing deodorant always. We will be on time. We will know the schedule, will be prepared for each day. We'll always be on time. We will also help others to be prepared, and we'll hold each other accountable to that. We'll move quickly in the morning so that we do not hold up our roommates or the rest of the group. Your adult leaders will always know the schedule, right? You will also have a copy of the schedule in your trip journal. We will always make sure that you know what's coming next and where you need to be next, okay? But please be on time. Jobs. We'll talk about jobs here shortly, but each participant, adult and youth, has a job, an area of responsibility while we're gone. And so we covenant to do our assigned jobs and to always be on the lookout for where we can help someone else. So like, for example, if I am a bus loader on the first day, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm off the hook for helping people out the rest of the week, right? My assigned job is done on that first day, but I ask that we're always on the lookout for how we can help somebody else out with their job, okay? Always asking an adult leader, like, hey, is there anything that needs to be done right now? And oftentimes we may say, no, we're good. But there may also be a time where we'll be like, hey, can you run this over to so-and-so, or can you help out with this? Boundaries. We'll maintain awareness of the boundaries and perspectives of others physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and conduct ourselves in ways that are respectful of those boundaries so that we do not intentionally or unintentionally hurt others. An important part of this boundaries is we will only enter our own sleeping rooms. All right, so once we are at the hotel, you are only to ever be in your own hotel room. Okay? So you don't go into somebody else's hotel room. There are common areas where if you're hanging out and things like that, you can hang out in common areas, but you only ever enter your own hotel room. Cool? Relationships, public displays of affection should be appropriate and kept at a minimum. Don't let a relationship get in the way of the group. Privacy and confidentiality. Will maintain privacy in one-on-one conversations, family groups, and other interactions, except in a case where someone is hurting themselves or another person, in which case we will always tell an adult leader. When we are hurting, this is important. When you start to get annoyed, not if, when you start to get annoyed, because 8 days, 24 hours a day is a long time. I want you to be respectful in sharing your feelings when you've been hurt or your boundaries have been crossed. Please don't carry around pebbles in your pocket. So what does that mean? That means like if you're starting to have like little annoyances and you just start, you're like, well, I'm just going to carry that. I'm just going to carry that. Eventually that's going to get really heavy. And then somebody's going to blow up. Right? Because all of a sudden that last little annoyance was just the one that pushed you over the edge. So I'm going to ask that we maintain open communication about when something, even if it's something little, when something little starts to bother us, go directly to the person respectfully, or if you need help with that, come and see one of the adult leaders. That's what we're here for, to help you process through those and to help navigate those things. Handle situations and conflicts immediately with respect and involve adults, leaders when necessary. And then communication. Again, we've talked about this already. We will always carry our cell phone. It will always be charged. We will have our rechargeable battery pack with us so that when it starts to get low, we can charge it. We will always be ready to take a call or text from any member of the group and we will carry a phone contact list for all group members to use in case of emergencies. What I would encourage you to do is when you get, and actually I think it's in this packet too, spend some time in the next couple of weeks and put everybody's number in your phone. Then you have them, right? You have those in your packet. There's a phone list in there with everybody's cell phone number that's going to be on the trip. Put the numbers in your phone so that you have them so that you're ready. If an adult leader texts you, you respond, okay? If an adult leader texts you in your family group, you respond. Everybody in the family group responds, okay? Can we just covenant to do that? So that we're not wondering like, oh my gosh, I've heard from everybody in my family group except Carrie L. I don't know if she saw that we're supposed to bring, an extra water bottle tomorrow, or we're supposed to bring, whatever. And so please make sure you always are responding. You'll have a group text with your family group. That will be one of the ways that we get information out, where I can say to the adults, hey, text your family group and remind them of such and such. There will also be remind texts that go out that will be pre-scheduled, that will have like a reminder of what church to wear the next day and things like that. All right, we're going to flip over to the other side of the covenant. Expectations of our adult leaders. In addition to the expectations that they're going to cover in their adult leader meeting, which are more than could fit on this page, these are the things that our young people are expecting of our adult leaders. To listen to, love, encourage, and care for all participants and their families, to walk alongside and with youth in intentional and authentic ways, to know the schedule and keep us informed of what's coming next, to grow with and alongside youth and expect to learn from each other, to be available to the group and set an example in fulfilling all promises set forth in this covenant, to take care of medical needs for any participants, to serve as the primary point of contact in case an adult leader at home, or in case an adult at home needs to reach the group, to serve as spiritual leaders and guides during and beyond the trip, to assist with conflict resolution and handle disruptions or behavior issues with grace in a way that seeks reconciliation, and to have fun. This is a different kind of fun. It's not a vacation, it's a working trip, and our adult leaders all know that. But there will also be fun to be had along the way. All right, so what happens when somebody makes a mistake, or somebody messes up, or a breach of the covenant happens? Our focus is always on restoration and reconciliation. Always, that's my goal, is we want to help students learn how to navigate conflict. This is a safe environment for us to learn those skills in ways that will hopefully help them long into the future when they have a conflict with their college roommate, or they have a conflict with a spouse. That I hope that they gain skills in restoration and forgiveness when we're together. So we will always model that as adult leaders. That will always be our first step. There are a few non-negotiables, and so this is important. There are certain situations where there will be immediate and definite consequences. In these situations, a parent or guardian will be contacted immediately and will be responsible for picking up the youth in New Orleans or for providing for their transportation home the same day. I will tell you, I have never had to do this. All right, so that's the hope, right? And this group has proven themselves that this is not a situation, but it's got to be in the covenant, because if it does happen, we have to have steps. So the first is an AWOL youth. So if a youth is not accounted for or intentionally leaves the group and a search is required to locate the group, please don't make me come searching for you. All right? Again, if you're following the other pieces of the covenant, it shouldn't be an issue. Any youth found in another sleeping room without an adult present, or any youth found outside of their sleeping room between the nightly room check and morning wake-up times. All right, so once you have had your adult leader room check at night, there will be adults that come around and make sure that everybody's accounted for in your room. Once that check happens, you should not be outside of your room again until morning time when we're meeting. We'll talk also about, like, we have often had people who are like, okay, if the group's not meeting until 10 a.m. and I want to go for a run in the morning. First of all, you won't be running outside in New Orleans by yourself, but in the fitness center, if you want to go use the treadmill, as long as your adult leaders in your family group know that that's what you're doing, and they know what time you're doing that, and they know who you're doing that with, we will make accommodations for those things. But between the night check and the morning check, if you are ever found to be outside of your room, you can buy a plane ticket home. Anything harmful or dangerous to yourself or others. Again, these are situations that we take seriously. And then any infraction of Epiphany, service learning camps, or ELCA youth gathering policies and or local laws and regulations that would require the same consequence. That would mostly be these things, right? But also, let's say drugs, alcohol, those sorts of things. Other than that, we will follow a warning policy, right? And we'll have like sort of a procedure for handling the sort of more minor things as they come up. My roommate borrowed my shampoo, and I'm really sad about it because they didn't respect my, my personal belongings. Okay, we'll handle that on site. Does anybody have any questions about the covenant? I know it's in depth, and I know it's a lot to go through that, but I think it's important that we are all on the same page. My pages are getting mixed up. All right, let's talk about jobs. So while we are traveling, each participant and each adult leader is expected to contribute and be accountable to a job. Job requests were made at our last meeting on June 9th. I also emailed out a request form after that, and so if you did not fill out a request form, if you were either not at the June 9th meeting or you did not fill out a request form, surprise, you were assigned a job. And I tried to do the best I could with what I assumed people would select for themselves, but part of the process included taking into account meeting attendance and seniority. So, like if you were at every gathering prep meeting, your job was selected earlier in the process. If you were a senior and so on, it's a very complicated process to kind of do that and try to be fair to everyone. But there is a handout in your packet with job assignments so you can see what you are assigned to. Also, you'll note up here, I've got a list of which adult leaders your job sort of ties with, okay? So each of those jobs falls under the area of responsibility of one of the adult leaders or two of the adult leaders. And so if you are one of our spiritual life coordinators, student spiritual life coordinators, those are folks that are going to sort of help with the sort of spiritual trajectory of the week. They may help with some devotions. They may help with just planning sort of the trajectory of that, setting the example for group prayers and things like that. They're going to be working with myself and Sharon and probably some input from Pastor Julie as well. Our bus loaders will be working with Ryan and Roland. Our breakfast and snack crew will be working with Connie and Michelle, along with our medical assistants working with Connie and Michelle. Our thank you notes and giveaways gang folks will be working with Pastor Julie. And then the social media and blog people will be working probably primarily with me, but Sharon kind of helps out with that stuff as well. Are there any questions about these? I don't want to read through all of the jobs. They're pretty well described in here. If you are a bus loader for Sunday, July 14th, that is the very first job. Okay, and so Eric and Will need to be at church at 7:45 on Sunday the 14th to help with bus loading that day. Basically, if you're a bus loader, you have one of the 4 travel days assigned to you. That doesn't mean you can't help on the other days as well, right? But you're like sort of the, primary folks responsible. All right, are there any questions about jobs? All right, I want to talk about trip journals real quick. So I don't have our trip journals yet because I'm still waiting on some information coming from the gathering so that I can get it included in our trip journal. Here's an example of the trip journals that we had in 2022. These are like really pretty cool, and they're like full color. They're a keepsake that I want you to be able to hang on to after the trip. But inside there, will be things like the group covenant, the itinerary for the week that includes what to pack or wear each day, all of those kinds of things. I will send out an electronic copy of the journal so that you can see sort of what we're working from while we're gone. As soon as I have it finalized to send to the printer, which I'm planning to do this week, I'll include a PDF copy so that you can see kind of what's in the trip journals. But everybody will get a trip journal when you check in. There will not be extras. Like, it's kind of like shirts. We are ordering one per person on the trip. There will not be extra journals. So do not lose your trip journal. That's part of why we're not giving it to you until you like get on the bus. I will say there's a section in the trip journal on safety in urban areas. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do after that trip journal comes out is parents, if you could just like sort of review that information with your son or daughter, we'll review it with them as well. But it just talks about, you know, like how to handle like panhandlers and things like that we will see in New Orleans. We're in an urban area. We'll always be together in groups, but it's just sort of a section in there that I would lift up to you to check out once that copy comes out. These journals, which is new from 2022, the journals for this year have a QR code on the back of the journal. That QR code goes to a Google Doc. And that Google Doc is specifically designed for things like links that we can't, like, I can't hyperlink from a paper journal, but like if you want to download the ELCA Youth Gathering app or you want to download the Goose Chase app, those links will be in that Google Doc so that you can scan it on your journal, click on the link in the Google Doc, and it will take you to download the app on your phone. I will also use that if there are like changes that happen along the way that we need everybody to be aware of, like if our schedule changes for something for some reason. I'm not even going to try to imagine the scenarios, but if our schedule changes for some reason and we need to let everybody know that on Thursday, instead of going to such and such a service site, we are going to be going to downtown Asheville. Just an example, you know, that I never could, you know, make up, right? Then we will update a copy of the schedule in that Google Doc. So then I'm only updating it in one place, and then we'll just tell them, make sure you scan the QR code and check for details for tomorrow. If there's something else that we need to pack for the day that wasn't listed in the trip journal. That trip journal, depending on the timing of the gathering, releasing the final 15 devotion materials, those might be in the Google Doc instead of in the printed journal, things like that. I think that's everything for trip journals. I'm getting there. It's coming up. I got you covered. All right. So, forms and information gathering. So, a reminder that these are things that need to be turned in, please, today, but for sure before you can step foot on that bus. We need to have these things. So, the 2324 parental consent and liability release form. I sent out individual emails to all families, so whatever your email said this week that came from me and was like, here's what I'm still missing from you, or you're all good, I'm not missing anything. That's the stuff off this list that needs to be done if it has not already been turned in. The permission to administer medication to a minor, the trip covenant, which is what you have today or you may have printed and brought with you, the ELCA Youth Gathering Medical and Emergency Form, which must include a photocopy of your insurance card. If you gave me the form and not a photocopy of your insurance card, you can also snap a picture and send it to me, and I'll print it out in the church office. But that's a requirement of the gathering. And then the ELCA Youth Gathering Participant Release. And then also your final trip payments. Are there any questions about any of the forms that need to be turned in? All right. If by chance, and I have not received this information yet, there's a chance that if one of our service sites in Birmingham requires a form, I will make sure you have that ASAP, and we'll have extra copies on hand at check-in. But Kelsey did not have that information yet for me for this meeting. Okay. All right, some miscellaneous information. We're getting close to the end. All right, so a reminder to you to please start and or continue preparing your body for the trip now. Start drinking water. I'm saying this to myself too because I'm like coffee in the morning, Mountain Dew in the afternoon, Coke Zero at evening. But I need to start drinking more water too. It is going to be so important that we are hydrated while we are gone. Who was looking at the weather in New Orleans? Carrie-Elle, was that you? What was the temperature today? 95 or something like that. And the heat index was like higher than that, like well into the hundreds. It is going to be hot. We're going to spend like good portions of our time in air conditioning, but also like when we're doing the scavenger hunt and when we're doing our service project may be indoors or it may be outdoors. We have got to be hydrating. The number one medical problem that they have at ELCA youth gatherings, or the top two, are dehydration and constipation. They kind of follow each other, right? So if you're drinking enough water, hopefully you won't have the number two problem. Also, flip-flop injuries. That's the number 3 one. So water, constipation, flip-flop injuries. We're going to try and prevent all of those by drinking lots of water now, by wearing closed-toed shoes while we're gone. Start taking walks. Start taking walks now. Get your body in shape to be walking, 15,000, 20,000, maybe more steps than that per day, depending on the day. I also want to share, this stuff is also in no particular order because it's all the miscellaneous stuff that just landed at the end. The ELCA Youth Gathering has sort of 2 offering opportunities. We have budgeted some funds in our fundraising for offering, but I also wanted to invite you all, if you wanted to participate above and beyond that. The first opportunity is their in-kind offering. So like, I think in Detroit, we collected diapers, or we collected storybooks for one of them. They are putting together hurricane relief kits. I think that's going to be some of the service learning stuff, actually, in the convention center for some groups. But our region was assigned to bring AA batteries. I would love to not take like bins and bins of AA batteries to New Orleans with us. First of all, because somebody's going to have to carry them from our hotel to the convention center. And I don't want any of us to have to do that because batteries are heavy. If you go to the Gatherings website, there is a link to their Amazon or Target wish list that will ship them directly to the gathering, and then they will be there. I am planning to we're going to split, I think we budgeted like 20 per person for the offering. We'll have $10 of that go to the World Hunger offering that they're taking on at closing worship, and then the other half of that amount we're going to use to buy some batteries. But if you'd like to add to that, I would invite you to go and visit the Amazon wish list. If you want to bring like a small pack of batteries with you to donate, and that you can carry yourself to the convention center like in your clear bag, great. Bring a pack of batteries with you, and then you can bring them to the convention center yourself. But I don't want to carry bins. But if you are interested in contributing in that way, that is one of the ways that we are serving in the city of New Orleans. Each region was assigned like an item, and then they're packaging those together into hurricane relief kits. And so they worked with people in the city of New Orleans to figure out what are the things that are most needed in the aftermath of a hurricane, and how can we help with that. Next up, let's talk about the gathering wristband. So once you arrive at the gathering, everybody will receive a wristband. That wristband needs to stay on your wrist the whole time that we're in New Orleans. If you don't have a wristband, you can't get into the gathering events. If you lose your wristband, the cost to replace it is $475. Okay? And it is not in our budget, so Aaron is not going to be paying to replace your wristband if you lose it, okay? It's not a rubber one. It's like one of those waterproof paper ones. They use them for festivals. They use them for like, they're like waterproof paper. I've been to a couple other gatherings now, and I've never had a lost wristband at this point. What? Oh, we did have one. In Houston. That's right. I think we were able to accommodate that, but please don't lose your wristband. Yeah. Probably. Most likely it would be. Yeah. All right. So that's the deal with wristbands. We'll remind you again when you get your wristband not to lose them. Also, some apps to watch for and download. These will be in the QR code on the trip journals for you to download. But the Goose Chase app is the one that we'll be using for that scavenger hunt. And they recommend, they said that not everybody in the group needs to have that app downloaded, but if 1 in 5 or whatever, as we're doing it, as we're traveling around, to be able to participate in that. The ELCA Youth Gathering app is supposed to be coming in early July. So, is it on there? Oh, look at that. They, under-promised, over-delivered. So it was not available yesterday. So the ELCA Youth Gathering app will have on-the-go information from the gathering, so I would encourage you to download that. And then also, if you don't have Google Docs on your phone, so that you can read the Google Doc, that would be a great, useful app to have as well. I'm gonna keep going. All right, keeping in touch. So for trip participants, we will be using the remind list. If you are not on the remind list yet, you need to be on it. Okay, participants. Parents, you may want to be off of it because otherwise you'll get blown up with all of our, like, don't forget to wear your orange shirt tomorrow, or hey, we're meeting at such and such a time after the Interactive Learning Center, or hey, has anybody seen Eric Bierman? So parents, that's just my word of, like, if you want to receive all those text messages while we're gone, stay on the remind list, but otherwise you are welcome to stop those text message reminders. But students and adults that are going to be on the trip need to have the remind list. Also, group texts. In addition, family groups will communicate in group texts. Students are expected to respond to adult leaders always and not mute the notifications for these groups. I'm going to say that again. Do not mute notifications on your family group's text at any point during the trip. Eye contact, everybody? We hear that? Do not mute the notifications. Back row, eye contact. Do not mute the notifications on your family group's text. We do know you do it. All right. Now, parents, this is the question that had come up earlier. We will have a daily blog that we will post while we're gone. And so each day a student will be responsible, one of my social media friends will be responsible for writing up a little summary of what we did that day. I can't guarantee that it will be posted before midnight, but at some point for each day there will be a summary. That's the web address. It will also be linked in an upcoming parent email with all of when the video from this and everything goes out. But epiphanydayton.org/Epiphany goes to New Orleans. We'll be updating it regularly while we're gone with pictures and fun stories of all the ways we've seen God and hopefully not had to pivot too much. And then also on social media, so ELC Youth Dayton on Instagram, that's our youth ministry Instagram account. Mostly student run, which is really cool. So there will be, I'm sure, fun pictures and videos and TikTok-like things happening on there. And then Epiphany Dayton is the church one, and so we'll have probably less frequent but still updates on the church main Facebook and Instagram accounts as well. I think, let me grab my last list. That is a great question. The answer to that is yes. So the ELCA Youth Gathering does plan to live stream mass gatherings each night. The most recent, I think, comment on a Facebook post or whatever that I saw was that it would be happening somewhere on the Gatherings website or that there would be links. I would encourage you, parents and youth both, to follow the ELCA Youth Gathering on social media if you're not already. So they've got a Facebook page, they've got an Instagram presence. I'm pretty sure they have a TikTok, but I don't. So, follow them on social media, and I'm sure they will be posting stuff constantly while we're gone as well from the ELCA Youth Gathering. But yes, they are planning to live stream the mass gatherings each evening. So if that's something that you're interested in, just seeing what we're experiencing and being part of, I would encourage you to do that. Remember that the times are in Central Time. So it'll start at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So probably roughly 8 to 10. Roughly is when those live streams will be happening. some important contact information. So if you keep flipping in your packet of information, there is a page that looks like this. It has important contact information. Students, if you can make sure that your parents get to see this, right, and have this information. It will also be in the trip journal PDF that goes out. But this has contact information for our housing sites. It has contact information for the hotel that we're staying at in New Orleans. It has all the adult leaders' cell phone numbers on it. It has the little web address that I just gave you for the trip blog. All of that stuff is on here under important contact information. There's also a group roster with everybody's cell phone numbers. So again, I would encourage you students to put those numbers in your phone between now and the 14th so that unless you really want to do that on the bus. Some people really like to do that on the bus. But I would encourage you to do that now so that you have all that information. All right. Are there any questions or things that we have not covered? Yes, medication that needs to be refrigerated. I'm in this boat as well. And so, yes, we will have refrigeration on site at both churches, and our hotel has mini fridges and freezers, or a mini fridge with a freezer in every single room. That was one of the first things that I checked on with them. You would bring your backpack for travel. So that first list. So the question is on Sunday the 14th, what do we need to have with us besides wearing our purple shirts? Wear your purple shirt, wear church appropriate bottoms, and then you'll have whatever your bag is. Your clear bag does not have to be your bag for the bus. If you want to, I'm gonna go home today and I'm gonna put my clear bag in my suitcase with my t-shirts. Right? So then it's there and it's ready. Because I'm not going to use this between now and then. I don't have tickets to see Taylor Swift or the Bengals or anything like that. But I would encourage you to go home and put your clear bag with your t-shirts for your carry-on size suitcase or duffel bag so that it's all ready to go. And then you can just start gathering stuff over the course of the next couple weeks as you find you're not going to need it anymore. So yeah, and then you'll have your backpack, and what we'll do is we'll have that stuff on the bus. You'll take your stuff up, put it in your seat on the bus, whatever, before the 9 o'clock service, so that then when we're going out to get on the bus, we're just going out and we're getting ourselves on the bus. All right, are there any other questions? We've got 7 minutes. Okay. Yes. Thanks for sharing that, because I have not been there, but I took it on a recommendation of a colleague. All right, so if there are no other questions, I would encourage you, if you have individual questions or concerns, particularly around, if you have a medical-related question or concern or something that a grown-up needs to know about, in particular medically related, I would invite you to stop Connie in the back before you leave. If you have a food or dietary-related concern, I would invite you to talk to Michelle. And if you have any other questions or concerns that are individual to you or your family, you can come and see me, and I'll do the best I can to either answer them now or find an answer in the next 2 weeks. I would love for you to sign the group covenant, have your parents sign the group covenant, and then you can turn forms in to Sharon. If you have any forms that you did not turn in earlier today, Sharon can take those. And otherwise, we'll see you on the 14th. Or feel free to come to my open office hours this week, 1 o'clock at Soyo on Wednesday and Hike and Hang on Monday the 8th at Grant Park at 9 a.m. Great. We'll see you then. Please take your T-shirts. T-shirts are in the back. They're labeled with your name. That's how...